Hello lovely people, how are you all doing today? I hope you are well. I am. I'm well. I wanted to sort of go out and about with you a bit today to illustrate some ideas I'm going to share, but it's blowing a hoolie. It's so windy, gusty today, and I think we're due a few days of this, so I need to make this video today, so we're indoors. I did try in the garden. I've just done a little bit of test filming in the garden because I thought there's a sort of a slightly more sheltered spot next to, it's sort of like the side of the shed and the side of my shower room in that little corner. But even there, the wind was gusting and all over the microphone. So never mind, we're indoors, c'est la vie, but it's still nice and bright. So today I thought I'd just chat about and talk through ideas for socialising and making new friends. And I hope this can apply to, you know, kind of anywhere, anyone, anywhere, although there are some specifics here. And boy, oh boy, there's no shortage of things to do, things going on here. It's an incredibly, how to put it, you know, socially active place. There's a lot on all the time. And it's not just about sort of tourists and holiday makers. This is, you know, stuff that goes on out of the season as well. One of which I'll mention that I'm really excited about. And I checked out when I was here in the autumn of 23 with my sister's ashes. Last year, all the times when I was coming down doing my house hunting, it's like, you know, whizzing up and down here every weekend. Most of the time I wasn't staying overnight because it's too expensive. So I was just down from London, view the property, back to London in a day because the round trip takes about 10 hours. So I didn't really have a chance to do anything here, but I certainly explored possibilities. So one of the first things, and I can't remember whether I mentioned this when I was talking about in one of the gardening videos, but as you know, I've been working on the front garden a bit. I mean, it's tiny, it's just a little strip of land. And when I bought the property, and I'm still battling it, there was this massive, horrible pyracantha, thorny, I was going to say shrub, it was more than a shrub, it's more like a tree that was taking over the whole house. Kind of like the thorny forest that surrounds Sleeping Beauty. Not saying that I'm a beauty, but I do like sleeping. So one of the reasons I want to get rid of that, well, it's because it's taking up precious growing space, but also because I want the front garden to be a garden that I tend, rather than say with that awful shrub, just once a year, a quick prune. I want it to be a garden that I go out and I regularly tend, because it puts my face in the street and people get to see me. And I experienced this in London, in one of my properties in London. I had a little front garden and I tended it, and it's how I got to know not just my immediate next door neighbours, but people from the whole street. And yeah, within weeks I'd sort of made friends with everyone on the street. Or I was at least on sort of good morning and first name terms with everyone on my street. So yes, I've been, you know, plugging away at the front garden. It's taking forever. And then the idea will be that it's mostly flowers, but there'll be maybe a few edibles in there too. So that as the years go by, I go out the front and I'm tending. Of course, I sweep my steps as well. I'm old-fashioned like that. I believe you should sweep your steps. So I'm starting to meet people from my street, but also complete strangers. The other day I was up on the top of my step ladders. It was a bit rickety because of the hill. I went up one way. I went up the ladders facing downhill, and it was like I felt like I was going to tip over. So I turned the ladders round and went up the steps, so I was facing up the hill, if that makes sense. and a woman just appeared from nowhere. Really sweet woman. We got chatting. She said, I can't do her accent, originally from South Africa, but now lives in Poole. And she'd just come over for the day. A lot of people, I'm discovering, a lot of people who live in Bournemouth and Poole come over to Swanage for the day for the peace and quiet. So yeah, she'd just come over on the ferry that day, and we just got chatting, and it was lovely. She was footing the ladder, I was snipping away, talking about gardening. Now, I might not see her again, although I did say, you know, next time you're in Swanage, if you're going for a walk, come and see how I'm getting on with the garden. But you get the point, you get the point. My neighbours, we had a week-long sort of VE Day. It's the 80th anniversary since VE Day, as in the end of the war in Europe, so Victory in Europe, VE, for those who didn't know what VE stood for. And they had their bunting out, so they had the Union flag hanging from across the top of their ground floor window, and then the bunting from the window down tied in the garden. And I thought, that looks so cute, I need to get some bunting next winter. Actually, look, just while I mention next winter, that's a good point. You know, folk have been saying to me a lot, it's like, oh, when are you going to do this? And when are you going to do that? Are you going to take us to the beach? When are you going to take us for a walk? When are you going to show us the nearby towns? It's like, I've still only been here a handful of weeks. I've got the rest of my life. I've got the rest of my life here to show you around. Not that I'm going to be showing you around when I'm 80. Who knows? I don't know. But look, we've got as long, you know, the next 10 years, I can show you things. Likewise, things like getting back to sewing and getting my routine. I honestly don't think that's going to happen until next year, because I'm still dealing with so much with the property. Oh, and that was the other reason also for not going out this morning, although it's penned for this afternoon. I have a surveyor coming, a surveyor coming to look at my windows. So yeah, I've got so much to do for both my flat and the whole building. Those are the things I'm going to be focusing on this year, and then next year I can get back to sewing and more gardening, much more gardening next year. Next year. This year, focus on fixing problems. Anyway, so how did I get to that? Yeah, so the front garden, because they've got bunting next door. The front garden, great way to make friends. Great way. The other thing I did early doors was I got onto one of the local Facebook groups. I've since discovered that there are, I think there's about four or five different local Facebook groups. I don't mean there are some specific groups. There are swimming groups and that sort of thing. But in terms of as a general group for the general population, I got on that, pretty much. I think it was about a week after I'd moved in. I found one of the groups and I asked to join. I was vetted. It took 24 hours and then I was in. So I was able to advertise my moving boxes on there. Please take them. I had so many takers. So that's a great way to stay up to date with events that are happening. And literally, it feels like every single weekend there's something happening. We've got the Pirate Festival, Pirate Weekend coming. We just had... what's that noise upstairs? Oh, they're cleaning. It's suddenly got a bit noisy. It's never normally noisy. Anyway, so joining a local Facebook group is a great way to, obviously look out for if people are giving away plants for free, or even if someone's, selling tomato plants, for instance, they might be selling them for £1, cheaper than a garden centre. So it's a good place to look out for. It's like free cycling, as well as events that are going on. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on that's free. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that goes on that's not free, but which I am happy to budget for. So front gardening, Facebook group, that's kind of all underway. Then outside of the Facebook group, you know, in terms of finding out what's going on, now I think this should translate to most areas, but obviously your specific area may be, you know, adjust it slightly. But for example, here there are a couple of shop fronts. There's a charity shop for breast cancer care, and their front doors, they've got two front doors, they're covered in posters and notes of things that are going on. There was, for instance, there was an afternoon tea and cake at the lookout post. So where I am, I'm in the old part of Swanage. If we carry on, I'm going to take you there soon actually, because it's one of my favourite spots to sort of sit and feel a bit wild. It's where the lookout, the Coast Guard lookout hut, little building, tower, it's a little tower, and it's right down on Peveril Point, because there's this thing called the race, and it's where there are fingers of rock. I'm going to try and take you there at low tide so you can see the rock. They stretch out to the sea, out to sea. And so when the tide is in, there's such a shallow depth of water above these rocks. It's a really dangerous bit of water. So the lookout post is right on the end there. So they were just having an open afternoon serving tea and cake, for example. So yeah, pop along to something like that, and okay, for the cost, you don't have to have the cake, but for the cost of a cup of tea, you might end up, you know, sharing a picnic table, or I think they put some tables outside, with another local and get chatting. It might not be the kind of person you make best friends with forever, but at least it's, you know, it's just that starting to make connections. So yeah, shop fronts, the breast cancer care. Other shops, like the Co-op has a community notice board. Again, events, they're hoovering, events that are going on, but also swap meets and that sort of thing. Not forgetting, oh, and of course the library has that. I don't know if the town hall has. Does our town hall have a notice board? I am going to take you to the town hall one day, because I want to tell you about the architecture, because it's pretty special. But that can wait for a day when it's not blowing a hoolie. Libraries, look in your library, there should be a community notice board there. But of course, don't forget, and I've just kept a couple here, I've got the Swanage and Wareham Advertiser and the Purbeck Gazette. And these, they're both free. I think, are they fortnightly? That one's fortnightly, that one's weekly. So, yay! The local football team won. They're not in. They're in a division which is, you know, they've run out of numbers for that division. But have a go. Again, you know, for look, guess where I live now. So happy. Obviously, I'm going to keep up to date with the news in my area. That's fab. But also, again, if there are events being organised, if there's a walk being organised, or actually a walk's probably not the right thing for me with my knees, but that's lovely articles on, you know, meditations on nature. There might be a talk organised. There might be a talk being held at the library, for instance, that's free. And again, if that talk is of interest to me, let's say the talk is on, I can't think. Okay, let's say the talk is on organic gardening. That would interest me. The chances are that other people that go to that talk are also interested in organic garden. They're the kind of people that I would make friends with. So actually that would be oversubscribed probably, that event, but maybe it would be something like, you know, the one and only osprey egg in the UK at the moment. You get the gist. Going along to talks, it's got to be that the other people in the audience are like-minded, and it's the sort of thing, especially if there's a break in the middle of the talk, or if at the end there's, you know, tea and cake. I keep coming back to cake. I'm not obsessed. Or it might be that it's, you know, beer and wine afterwards. It's a great way to just begin to, you know, mesh yourself into the community. It's all about finding out what's on. I made a whole list of ideas of places to look. You know, do you have a community centre? So there are all sorts of little meeting halls and places in Swanage, but for most of that, I'm going to get that info from the papers and from the Facebook group. Other things to consider, groups that you join. So for instance, except it costs, here there's, and I hear it's quite active, there's a WI, the Women's Institute. I don't necessarily want to be in clubs that are women only. I like male and female companionship, but the Women's Institute, again, it's probably going to be like-minded women who are interested in a bit of make, do and mend and, you know, grow their own, preserve their own, crafting, making. The only thing with WI, did I write it? I thought I wrote it down somewhere. I think it costs £48 a year, which, you know, it's £1 a week, which isn't that much money really, is it? Because I know that they have guest speakers. I think that's probably worth it. The only thing is you have to pay the £48 up front. It's a shame they don't do it as a weekly thing. I guess they don't do that because then people would come for 1 or 2 weeks and then might leave. I'll think about it. I'll see after. I think that's maybe something to consider for next year. Once I'm out of the chaos of trying to sort everything here and I'm paying for things at the moment, I have to focus on that first. But then next year I might be able to look at my budget and think, okay, well now I'm not saving up for a kitchen, bathroom, windows, roof, everything. Maybe I can afford it. So something like the WI. But also I was just mentioning about the football club. If there's a sport that you're keen on, so here we have a football club, a rugby club and a cricket club, or teams, that they all seem pretty active. So it might be one of those things where, you know, go along and support the team, you know, whatever your favourite sport is. Go along and support the team, do your cheering, and you'll gradually start to get to know the other supporters. They'll start to see your face. You might have to, with all of these things, I think you have to be a bit brave sometimes and just bite the bullet and introduce yourself. Say, hi, I'm Vivi. It's what I've been doing all around town, you know. The shops that are obviously going to be regulars for me, I've said, hi, my name is, and I've asked them their name, and then the next time I go in, I say, hi, you know, Diane. You won't remember my name, that's okay, I don't expect you to, I'm Vivi. And kind of repeat your name on 2 or 3 visits, and then that's how they get to know your name. And once you know each other's names and you say hello by name, it's just much more connected, isn't it? Like I do with my postie. And actually, the fact that I introduced myself to my postie on my very first day, and I've seen him around and about when he's on his round but not in my street, I always say morning to him and his name. The fact that I'd introduced myself and my name, because he said, oh, that's an unusual name, and I said it's short for Vivian, but no one calls me Vivian. That stuck in his mind, so that when my PO box wasn't working properly, God help me, he noticed something at the delivery office that was labelled Vivi's Kitchen Garden, and it was a PO box, and he thought, Vivi, I wonder if it's that Vivi who lives up the hill. So he brought it and he said, is this you? I said, yes, yay. So sporting clubs. Here, of course, there are all sorts of clubs associated with the sea. There's a sea gig rowing club. There are all sorts of water sports clubs. There are swimming groups. They're kind of serious swimmers though, like open, like far out to this, like I'm stuck. I'm doing a max headroom, like 4 kilometre swims. That's a long swim. I'm more of a just in the shallows. I just want to splash and float. But yeah, check out sports clubs near you too. But even things like, I was thinking this with the gig rowing club, there's no way my knees will put up with rowing because of that action. Your knees are bending all the time. But I would like to get involved in any way that I can. And it might be that, you know, they have a supporters group that are the landlubbers, and it might be sort of, you know, fundraising or hosting of events, fundraising events. So I know they do a few fundraising events, but you can get involved that way. So even if you think physically that you can't take part in these sort of more sporty or physical groups in your area, it might be that you can join them. You know, what is a cricket match without tea, afternoon tea being served? So it might be that your local cricket club would welcome you joining them, and you're going to help with serving the afternoon tea. But you're still part of the club, you're just not running around whacking balls, as it were. So think about that too. One of the massive things here, and I'm going to see how it goes with my knees. I'm going to do a few little trial walks on my own. But for this whole area of Purbeck's about 80 square miles or so, maybe 100 square miles, and nearly the entire area is uninhabited. There are so many nature reserves, areas of outstanding natural beauty, designated scientific special interest areas. And along with that, there are loads, throughout the year, loads of walks and tours of the areas where, you know, guided walks and tours. You stay on the path, but, you know, are shown the points of interest, or the animals or birds or reptiles or whatever to look out for. So joining a walking group, like-minded people. If I'm going to join one of the groups that goes out into the dunes that's specifically looking at reptile habitat, there's a good chance that other people on that walk are going to be like me, that they're really interested in, say, adders. You get the gist. And then, so, yeah, areas to look at. I mentioned community centres, so we've got community centres, shop windows, Facebook, newspapers, all of that sort of thing. Do you have a local arts centre? So I'm just going to quickly mention this. When I was back in London, I had decided it was getting pretty stressful. From the beginning of February, it got really stressful because crazy legal obstacles were being put in the way. But now that I'm here, you all can see why I fought so hard to keep on with this. I know loads of people just said, you know what, I just walk away, it's not meant to be. And it's like, you have no idea how much this is meant to be. But anyway, back in London, I said to myself, when this happens, I'm going to give myself a treat. I'm going to allow myself some, like my treats for a tenner, but I said I'm going to give myself 20 quid. I'm going to blow 20 quid on treats. And the idea was that sort of on my first weekend, I was going to blow 20 quid. And I decided, actually, what I'm going to do is I'll do it at the end of the first month. Let's settle in a bit. But I knew I was going to blow 20 quid. I had no idea on what. I thought probably a bag of chips would be amongst that. Still haven't done a bag of chips. I'm worried that if I... It's a really good chippy at the end of my road. I'm really worried that if I allow myself that bag of chips, it's the slippery slope to having a bag of chips every Friday night. But anyway, so with my 20 quid, I went along to my local theatre. I mean, here I am in this really small town. It's not much more than a village. There are 9,000 inhabitants in Swanage. A village is classed as 5,000 or less, so it's like two villages. It's small, but we have the wonderful Moleham Theatre. I've shown you a little bit of that when I've been out and about walking to the shops. It's only tiny. It seats 350 in the main house. There's a little studio too. They host live events there, and they also screen films there. So it's like a little arts venue. Well, it is an arts venue, a performing arts venue. So I had a look to see what's on at the Molam, and you will have seen it on my pin board. I saw advertised Angela Barnes, who you will have, if you watch the kind of panel shows that I watch, you'll have seen her. Mock the Week, regular on Mock the Week, Have I Got News for You, Live at the Apollo, 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown, all of those Channel 4/Dave type comedy panel shows. There she is. So I went along for a night at the theatre. 17 quid, I couldn't believe it. Now some people might think that's expensive, but 17 quid for a night at the theatre, having come from London, that is cheap as chips. And talking of chips, afterwards I thought I'm going to get a bag of chips, maybe another 3 quid, but I didn't. I still resisted. I thought about getting ice cream at the interval, but I'm still not doing sugar. It didn't matter. I was happy with that. So, how great to have that on my doorstep. Now, I didn't make friends by going to the show that night. In the interval, the theatre is right on the beach, and it was a beautiful evening, still air, it was quite warm. The tide was coming in, but the sea was like a mill pond. It was flat. There's barely a ripple. It was such a still evening. So in the interval, I just went outside and sat on the beach, because that's what you do when you live in Swanage. But what I could have done in the interval is gone into the bar where everyone else was, bought myself a drink, and just started chatting to people. You have to be brave. You have to be brave and just say, "Oh, it's a fun show, isn't it?" Or, just something to break the ice, and then get chatting with people. And the great thing with the show was, at the very beginning, when she came on, she said, "Give us a cheer if you're from Swanage." And the majority of the theatre, and I got to cheer as well, I went, "Yay, Swanage." Give us a cheer if you're on holiday. A few people. So it is serving the local community as well as holiday makers. So the reason I'm mentioning that is, yes, in the interval, if I got chatting to folk, the chances are there are other Swanage people. So you get on with someone and you say, "Oh, it'd be lovely to meet up for a coffee one day," even though I don't drink coffee. You know what I'm on about. Now I'm gonna start wrapping up, because I've been gassing for ages. So mentioning there's lots of activities. So for instance, in the summer there's carnival. So one thing I could look to do is get involved with the carnival committee. I don't really want to be on a committee as such. I have no interest in being on a committee work, but just being part of that carnival organisation, because I'm quite organised and I love carnival. I love Swanage Carnival, it's great. So perhaps that's something, not necessarily for this year, again, because it's all about the house this year, but in future years, maybe I can get involved with carnival, meet people that way. At Christmas, my goodness, there is so much going on every Christmas. I'm sure there'll be things I could get involved with. And things like, volunteering for things. I don't actually have that much. I've already been asked in 2 of the charity shops if I want to volunteer. So I have to explain to them, I'm not retired, I work full time, I work more than full-time hours still. I don't have the time, I'm afraid. But that is another route to making friends, is volunteering. Volunteering at the Heritage Railway line. No, that would be my kind of volunteering. But yes, carnival, Christmas, all these events and stuff that goes on in town. Get involved with the organisation committees, volunteer. And then there are 2 other things. There's one coming up really soon, I'm really looking forward to. And then one much later in the year. There's a really thriving arts scene in Purbeck. So a lot of artists and writers live here. You can understand why. It's so beautiful, inspiring. But what's coming up, I've just dribbled, oh you can't see it, dribbled water down my top. What's coming up very soon is Purbeck Arts Weeks. Purbeck Art Weeks. So this is mostly to do with visual arts and crafts, brilliant. Now I've already had a quick look through this, and there are two things I really want to go to and to take you along with me to see them. One of them is something I made a note of in my book whilst I was still in London, of all the things I want to show you here. So I really hope I can get organised to do this. It's on for a whole week. In my grandparents' old village, which is 2 miles inland from where I am in Swanage, they lived in a village called Langton-the-Travers, and it's one of the old quarrying villages. So the whole area is famous for its Purbeck stone. That'll be B and P. The whole area is famous for its Purbeck stone. Look, it's what my house is built from, it's what my beautiful garden walls are built from. It's kind of what I've banged on about my whole life, about this beautiful, beautiful stone. And when I take you to the town hall, and I was talking about the architecture, there's something very specific about that that's to do with the stone and the whole reason. Anyway, that's a whole nother day. So back to my grandparents' old village. There are a number of quarries there that are still active. Some have recently been, one of them's recently reopened, or they're on a different site. But what I wanted to do was to take you along to one of the quarries to show you some quarrying. And they're really small scale. This is really, really small scale. And I was thinking, yeah, when I get down there, I need to phone up, I need to make friends with a local quarry and ask them very nicely if I can come along with my camera and film a bit at the quarry. But what's great is one of the quarries, just got to stretch my legs a sec. One of the quarries actually has a showroom that's open to the public, and I thought, that would be a great starting point. If I go to the showroom, it's the kind of place where you can buy a Purbeck stone bird bath. That would be a good place to start. Anyway, better than that, they've got for a whole week at this particular quarry, where they have their visitor centre. It says they've got exhibitors who will be carving on site every day. They're having a stone carving open week, basically, at my grandparents' old village. Brilliant. So all of these like artist studios which are open. There's another stone carver that I'm hoping to take us to, quite near me. So that all of these events are free. That's one of the reasons to mention this, is because a few of the things I've mentioned, yes, they cost money. Going to the pictures, going to the arts centre costs money, but there are tons of things that can be done for free, where hopefully, like I said, it's all about meeting like-minded people. But also, never mind even meeting people, I'm very self-contained as a human being. I'm quite happy on my own. These kind of things, they're just wonderful things to experience. Never mind making the friends, just experience it for myself. So I should be hopefully taking you along for that. But again, in your area, what arts things are going on, or crafts? There's a whole barn that's a crafts barn, but it's the only issue with where I live. It doesn't. I was going to show you the map on the back, but it doesn't really. You see, I live down here at the end of the peninsula. There's a bus that goes that way. And there's a bus that goes this way. Here's the sea, there's the ferry. But all of these places, there's no public transport. None. So that would be a case of, I could maybe go on my local Facebook group page to say, is anyone going to Rollington Barn during the Arts Festival? If they are, could I catch a lift with them and maybe, offer them a bit of petrol money? Make a car friend. And then the final one, which I don't have the booklet for at the moment, right, and now I am wrapping up. The final one is, we have a film festival every year, Purbeck Film Festival. It's end of October, just into November, so it's a great way as we're sort of heading towards winter, and that mindset changes from being outdoors all the time to, oh, I'm going to be indoors a bit now. And what I love about the film festival is it's in traditional venues, so the Molam, which is my theatre arts venue, and there's a cinema in Wareham, so it's the kind of normal venues you'd expect, but they have pop-up venues all across the whole Isle of Purbeck, so scout huts, village halls. So my grandparents' old village, the village hall there, which the scouts use, it's kind of village hall come scout hut. It's a tiny little building. That becomes a pop-up cinema for the film festival. And in terms of ticket prices, they vary, but you can get an Explorer pass, which reduces the cost of individual tickets quite a bit. But the Explorer tickets are for those kind of little out of the way venues, such as, the village hall in my grandparents' old village. I think I'm going to sneeze. But because it's on the bus route, and I'd have to check the film times, but I think the last bus, when you get into the later evening, the frequency, it's only one bus an hour during the day, and then in the evenings it's only every 2 hours. So if you miss your bus, you could walk back from Langton. It would hurt, but I could walk back. But anyway, the point is, so the Explorer book of tickets takes you to all these quirky, wonderful little pop-up cinemas. Some of them are outdoors. Oh no, sorry, no, beg your pardon, that's this lot, they're outdoors. It wouldn't be outdoors in October. But yeah, they're at quirky little venues, and again, it's going somewhere. So all the films, that I should say as well, it's not your Hollywood blockbuster type films. It's my kind of films. Like all the DVDs I've been showing you. So it's all kind of indie, art house, foreign, my weird stuff that I like. But again, if I'm at a little village hall, if there's maybe 20 of us sitting on fold-out chairs to watch some random film that's in Romanian and I don't know, the chances are those other people are going to be quite like-minded, and so, arrive with 10-15 minutes to go easily, and the chances are, you might get to meet someone else in the hall and get chatting about, oh, I can't wait to see this, or gosh, I haven't seen this film for years. So some of it's newer stuff, some of it's older stuff. Cannot wait for that. It's all to be looked forward to. So there we have it. Gosh, I'm excited. That's why I went on one. There are so many ways to meet people, to make friends, to socialise. Yes, some of it's going to cost money. A lot of it needn't cost money. Being outside doing my garden. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. It's been every day is a bit of a whirl here at the moment. It still is, and now I'm getting warm. Anyway, the point is, there are all sorts of ways and means to both in terms of meeting people, making new friends, but also in just enjoying where you live. Like I said, round here I should be for the tourist board, because come to Swanage, the whole surrounding area, if you love the countryside, it's gorgeous here. Honestly, I think you could come to Swanage for a month and every day would be different and jam-packed, and you could still come back for another month and there'd still be things to do. It's wonderful. I am going to make the most of it, and along the way start to meet people and make friends. But until I do, don't worry about me. I am perfectly happy. I am very self-contained and happy to do my own thing. Right, let's wrap up. I will see you all again really soon. I can't remember what I've got. So, oh yeah, that's it. I am planning to, I want to do a little walk. I've no idea if I'm going to be able to manage it, but I really, really want to try, and I want to take you with me because, yeah, it's sort of, you'll see, it's a bit wilder, and it will depend on the weather. I don't mind weather. It's more about the wind. Because it's a windy spot, it might just be too much on the camera. Or I can take you there and show you, I just won't talk. Maybe that would be better. Shut up, Vivi, I'm going. All right, lovelies, until the next one, cheerio.